Welcome to Vault Studio.
This is Story Vault Studio. Some people get one life to make things right. Connor Reed got a second one, and it landed him right back on the worst morning of his first. The same fire, the same girl trapped on the third floor, the same brother charging in for the cameras while everyone forgot to ask why the fire started at all. Last time, Connor paid for his brother's glory with everything he had, his future, his choices, even the people he loved. This time, he remembers all of it, the betrayals, the debts, the girl behind the golden family name who was never what she seemed. This time, he isn't running in to save anyone. He's standing back, recording. Because some fires aren't meant to be put out. They're meant to be watched, all the way down. If you enjoy immersive stories like this, consider subscribing. Now, let's begin. The shout from the sidewalk snapped Connor Reed back into his own body. He looked down at his hands. The skin was smooth, unmarked, none of the ropey burn scars he'd carried for the rest of his last life. His pulse slammed against his throat as the truth landed on him whole. He was back on the day everything between him and his brother had gone wrong. Beside him, Logan was already trembling, some current running through him that had nothing to do with fear. Before Connor could say a word, Logan shoved him backward onto the pavement and took off toward the burning building, screaming over his shoulder as he ran. "Get your phone out! Go live! Everybody needs to see me save her!" So Logan remembered too. Of course he did. He'd clawed his way back into this exact morning, and the first thing he wanted was an audience. Connor pulled out his phone, but didn't open the live stream app. A stream burned hot and died in an hour. A video, saved and shared, stayed forever. And this time, he wanted proof that outlasted the moment. He pointed the camera up as Logan hauled himself onto the drain pipe at the second floor, slipping twice, still yelling that he had this, that people should let him handle it. "Don't be stupid, wait for the fire department." Logan didn't seem to hear any of it, dragging himself upward hand over hand. Connor raised his voice, loud enough that the phone's mic would catch every word. "Everyone look, my brother's going up there for the girl on the third floor." The line went straight into the recording. Moments later, Logan wrestled Madeline out through the window, just as the first fire truck rounded the corner. Once she was down and the paramedics had her, Logan slipped into the same performance Connor remembered from his own first life. The modest hero who didn't need thanks, hands in his pockets, strolling back like none of it mattered. How'd the stream do? A lot of people watching? His eyes betrayed him, hungry and bright, hand already out for the phone. Connor shook his head and slid the phone back into his pocket. "I didn't go live. I recorded it instead." Logan's face dropped in an instant. He grabbed a fistful of Connor's collar. "You did that on purpose, didn't you? You still want to be the one who marries into the Ashfords." "Marries who? What are you talking about? Did you hit your head climbing up there?" Logan studied him for a long moment, searching for the lie, and found nothing but bewilderment staring back. He let go, doubling over with laughter. "Right, of course. A bookworm like you never had that kind of luck coming. Guess it's finally my turn." Connor handed the phone back, showing him the video, already climbing past a few thousand likes on his own account. Live streams vanished the second the audience clicked away, but a video kept the world watching him play hero on a loop. Logan's face lit up as the counter kept ticking. He tossed the phone back and jogged ahead toward home, certain their mother would finally have something to be proud of. Logan's back retreated toward home, and something cold and satisfied settled behind Connor's ribs. Logan had no idea why Madeline had been in that lab,
or why the fire had started at all. He didn't know what she'd told Connor in a hospital room in another life, that she'd locked herself inside on purpose, that Ashford was forcing her into a marriage with a business partner's son, and burning made more sense to her than saying yes. Whatever Logan thought he'd won today wasn't luck. It was a slow poison with a sugar coating. Their mother was on the couch when they got home, a pill bottle clenched in one fist, coughing hard enough to shake her shoulders. Their father had died young, and she'd worked 3 jobs to raise them both until her kidneys gave out and dialysis became a permanent fixture of her life. In his last life, she'd secretly stopped taking her medication to save money for Connor's tuition and had nearly died for it. She shook 2 pills from the bottle and washed them down with warm water, her breathing finally steadying. When she looked up and saw Logan's soot-speaked shirt, she frowned. "Logan, why are you so dirty? God, it's loud in here. I saved someone today. Everyone online's calling me a hero." He slammed his bedroom door behind him without waiting for a reply. Their mother sighed and reached for Connor's hand, her eyes dimming with worry. "Did your brother cause trouble again?" "No, Mom. Logan pulled a girl out of a fire today. People online are saying good things about him." He pulled up the video and let her scroll, steering her past the comments questioning Logan's recklessness and toward the ones praising him. Some of the tension in her shoulders eased, though the worry didn't leave completely. Saving someone is good, but he shouldn't be so careless with his own life. She paused, studying Connor's face. "Your test scores come out soon, don't they? Don't push yourself too hard." "I'm not stressed, Mom." The words came out steady, but underneath them something twisted like a blade turning slowly. In his last life, his scores had landed him near the top of the city, and on results day, Logan had stolen the credit outright, telling Ashford that his own brother was a weak, timid student, so the scholarship money would flow to him instead. A knock came at the door the next morning before either of them had finished breakfast. Logan yanked it open. "You're looking for Logan Reed?" a man in an expensive coat asked, and Logan's eyes went wide when the man introduced himself as Ashford. The girl Logan had pulled from the fire was Ashford's only daughter. Everyone in the city knew the name. Ashford thanked him effusively, promising to cover his education. And Logan, who had no interest in tuition money when the entire Ashford fortune was the real prize, played the part of the humble, dutiful son. "My grades aren't good enough for college anyway. I'd rather leave school and work to help pay for my mother's treatment." Ashford's face warmed instantly at what looked like both kindness and filial devotion. He waved his assistant over for a checkbook and wrote out a number with a flourish. $500,000, pressing it into Logan's hand and telling him not to worry about the rest of his schooling, that he'd find a way to help. The second Ashford's car pulled away, Logan ran to find Connor, waving the check in his face like a trophy. "More money than you'll earn in your whole life." When their mother asked where it had come from, he dressed the story up even further before she could catch her breath. "You're sure it's all right to keep this much? Maybe you should give some of it back." Logan's face soured immediately. "What do you know about it? Ashford's got money to spare. He practically wants me to marry his daughter. Once I'm his son-in-law, this whole family is going to be living off me." Their mother started coughing again, and Connor rubbed her back, telling her not to worry, that Logan knew what he was doing, that good things happen to good people, and he'd earned this.
She only sighed, too tired to argue, and too used to not being able to reach him. When she asked about Connor's exam results, he told her his scores were on track for the top tier of the city. The official results were still a few days out. She beamed and told him how proud she was. What's the point of good grades? Even the best school in the world just makes you someone's employee eventually. Someone like me. He pocketed the check and headed for the bank before the sentence had even finished landing. The money didn't last the week. Logan invited a crowd of friends out and ran up a tab that made the bar owner nervous enough to dig through his phone for an emergency contact. By the time Connor arrived, his brother was slumped across a booth with his friends, a receipt for nearly $10,000 still balled in his fist. Connor put a hand on his shoulder, and Logan shoved it off without opening his eyes. "Get off me, Connor. You have any idea how much money I've got now?" Connor said nothing, only glanced toward the corner of the room where a pair of eyes was fixed on their table. Eyes he'd once known too well. Eyes as cold and watchful as a snake's. A chill climbed the back of his neck before he could stop it. "Turn around. Isn't that the girl you pulled out of the fire? I think her name's Madeline." That sobered Logan up faster than any amount of coffee could have. He straightened his shirt, smoothed his hair, and stumbled toward her table with a grin already plastered on. The corner of Connor's mouth curled. The show was moving right on schedule. From that night on, Logan poured every waking hour into chasing Madeline. And Connor let him go without a second thought, focused entirely on his college applications. In his last life, Ashford's tuition offer had come with strings attached. He'd steered Connor toward the private university Madeline attended, a school built on Ashford's own money, where every student came from old wealth, because Ashford had wanted a top scorer to polish the school's reputation. Ashford had promised scholarships, guaranteed job placement after graduation, everything wrapped in a bow. With his mother sick and Logan needing someone to hold the family together, Connor had said yes, and spent years regretting it before he understood how deep the trap went. This time he chose New York University on his own, close enough to keep watching over his mother, and no one from the Ashford estate had a say in it. Logan, meanwhile, grew lazier by the week, coasting on Ashford's vague promises and barely showing up to class, splitting his days between video games and nights out. Connor spent the summer working double shifts, too busy to keep tabs on his brother. On the last day of his job, he collected his final paycheck after dark and stopped at the pharmacy before it closed, spending everything he had on months of his mother's medication in advance. He'd barely stepped outside with the bag in his arms when a sack came down over his head and hands dragged him into an alley, fists and the flat of something hard landing on him, while someone laughed above him, delighted by it. The feeling was so familiar, it was almost like stepping back into his last life. He let himself go limp after a few token struggles, staying still on the ground. He knew this kind exactly. The harder he fought, the more it fed them. A few more half-hearted blows landed before they lost interest, bored of a target that wouldn't fight back. This one's not worth the effort. Just enough to keep that hick Logan happy. Don't actually kill him. Logan wanted his brother scared out of going to college, that's all. I'm not covering for a body. Someone beside her warned her to be careful, that a man who'd turn on his own brother out of jealousy was the kind who cut himself on his own knife eventually.
Madeline stepped forward and drove the point of her heel into one of his bruises, and Connor bit down hard on his tongue to keep the sound from escaping. Satisfied that he was just another spineless bookworm, they walked off and left him in the alley. Once their footsteps faded, Connor pulled himself up out of the sack. He recorded his own bruised, bloodied face right there in the alley and posted it before he'd even limped home. And by the time he'd walked 2 blocks, the story of the top-scoring student attacked in the night was already climbing the city's search trends, right alongside Logan's still-fresh hero clip. He remembered, in his last life, not learning the truth about Madeline until college, that behind the graceful, well-bred mask she wore in public, she was something else entirely. Drugs, brawling, cruelty dressed up in her father's money, and the person she treated worst of all was the fiancé everyone called Lucky. He'd tried once to tell Ashford he didn't want to marry her. The words never made it out of his mouth. Ashford mentioned almost casually that he'd found her a specialist for her kidneys, and Connor swallowed the refusal whole. That was the moment he understood his mother's life was collateral in Ashford's hands, and that his own choices had stopped being his. He looked down at the bag of medicine in his lap, relieved it hadn't been taken. Without it, he had no idea how his mother would have made it through the next few months. It was near midnight by the time he limped home, bruised down one whole side. Logan was still up, and the sight of him at the door made Logan's eyebrows shoot up in genuine shock. "How are you even back?" "Was I not supposed to make it back?" "I meant, why so late? What happened to your face?" "Don't ask. Got jumped on the way home. Whoever it was figured out I didn't have any cash, roughed me up a little, and ran off. I already filed a police report." "You reported it? Why would you do that? What if they come looking for us at the house? What about Mom?" "They won't. This is a country with laws. People answer for what they do. Besides, I didn't just report it. I posted the video, too." Logan's breath went ragged, and no argument came out of him, just a few tight laps around the living room while Connor set the medicine down and went to bed. The next morning, once Logan had left the house, Connor packed his bags early and moved onto campus ahead of schedule. Classes started, and he threw himself into the rhythm of it. Simple people, kind roommates, nothing on their minds but coursework. He held on to those quiet weeks like something precious. Logan called constantly, insisting Connor come along to an Ashford family gathering. "I'm the man who saved the Ashfords, in case you forgot. I'm doing you a favor letting you see how the other half lives. Don't take it for granted." "Appreciate it, little brother. I've always wondered what a billionaire's house looks like." That evening, Logan showed up outside the dorm in a brand new suit, hailing a cab, and wrinkled his nose the second Connor climbed in wearing a plain white shirt and faded jeans. "Seriously? You read that many books and still can't afford a decent outfit? This is fine. No reason to dress up like I'm somebody I'm not. Just admit you're broke. Once I'm Ashford's son-in-law, I'll have doctors lined up for Mom whenever she needs them. You really think you're in a position to lecture me?" Silence answered for him, and Logan took it as surrender, chin lifting a little higher for the rest of the ride. Ashford's welcome at the party was cool at best, his eyes sliding past Connor and settling briefly, without curiosity, on the brother trailing behind. Logan, worried a student from a real university might catch too much attention, elbowed Connor hard enough to make his meaning clear. Stay quiet, stay small, before Ashford lost interest entirely and wandered off with his drink. "See, told you, Ashford's got eyes for me. Don't go thinking you're getting any of that shine." "Then why bring me at all?"
wasn't for you, without me, you'd never even see the inside of a room like this."
Connor didn't bother arguing. He nodded towards Madeline across the hall instead. "I'm starving, and there's food here I've never even tried. That's your fiancé over there, isn't it? Go on, don't worry about me." Logan crossed the room fast, tossing an insult over his shoulder as he went, and spent the next hour buying drinks for Madeline's whole circle of friends until he was slumped and unconscious in a chair. Someone dared her to draw on his face, and she uncapped a lipstick and sketched a turtle across his cheek, adding 2 red letters beside it while her friends howled and lined up for photos. Logan woke to the laughter and the sting of humiliation, grinding his teeth but not daring to snap. Not until a waiter stumbled into him with a full tray, and all the fury he couldn't aim at Madeline's friends landed on the nearest safe target instead. "You blind? Ashford's daughter owes me her life. You have any idea who you're talking to?" The waiter apologized over and over, and Madeline, who despised nothing more than Logan's habit of throwing his one good deed around like a weapon, waved the poor man off before storming away. Logan didn't dare push further, slinking off toward the bathroom alone.
He found Connor already there, washing his hands, and slammed a fist into the mirror frame. "What are you hiding out in here for? Enjoying the show?" Connor ignored the outburst and dried his hands. On his way out, he leaned in close, voice pitched low. "You're still not seeing it, little brother. Whoever wins Madeline wins everything else that comes with her." Logan went quiet for a moment, and then a slow, ugly smile spread across his face. Connor said his goodbyes soon after, claiming his dorm curfew was closing in. Logan barely registered it, already halfway to the door, his eyes still tracking Madeline across the room. Outside the hotel, Connor didn't head for the street. He slipped into the shadow of the entrance instead and took out his phone, ready to record whatever came next. It didn't take long. Logan emerged half carrying Madeline, glassy-eyed and barely conscious, glancing around twice before he shoved her into the back of a waiting cab. Connor flagged another cab and followed at a distance, capturing the whole ride to Logan's building. Inside, Logan pushed their mother out into the hallway in the middle of the night so he could be alone with Madeline, and she sat on the cold concrete steps outside, coughing without pause, until Connor arrived to help her up. He'd already rented a small room near campus weeks earlier with money he'd been saving, meant only to give her somewhere stable to land. He hadn't expected to need it quite this soon. She gripped his hand the whole way there, more worried about Logan than about herself. Why did Logan bring a girl home like that? Isn't he supposed to be with the Ashford girl? That was the Ashford girl, Mom. He's grown up now. There's not much we can do to steer him anymore. Stay here and rest. I'll come by after class tomorrow. Once she was asleep, Connor sat down and edited the footage before posting it. A billionaire's daughter and the man who saved her life caught together after dark. He never underestimated what a story like that could do once it hit the right feeds.
Within a night, the clip had unraveled both of their reputations at once. Comments piled up calling Logan a climber who'd used one lucky rescue to buy his way into money, and others recognized the two of them from school, calling them the ringleaders of a bullying clique that had nothing in common with the noble hero and gracious heiress everyone thought they knew. By morning, the Ashford name had taken a hit it wouldn't easily shake.
Logan was waiting outside the dorm gates the next day, a fresh red handprint still visible across his cheek. "What was that video supposed to mean, Connor? You jealous? Trying to ruin me? I'm helping you. Save the act. What could someone like you possibly do for me? Half the internet knows you two spent the night together now. The Ashford name's already taking damage. Nobody respectable's going to want to marry into that family after this, which means Madeline doesn't have a choice left but you. She used to look right through you. Now you're the only option she's got." Logan blinked and then his whole face lit with something close to joy. "Once I'm officially part of that family, I swear I'll make it up to you." Logan practically vibrated with excitement, and Connor counted down, silently, the days his brother had left.
It played out exactly the way Logan wanted. Rather than let the scandal fester, Ashford pushed the wedding forward, agreeing to let them marry before graduation and formalize things legally once school was finished. Logan swaggered through the following weeks like he already owned the world. He showed up at Connor's rented room one afternoon with a leather bag, dropped it on the coffee table with a heavy thud, and put his feet up like he owned the place. Their mother poured him a glass of water and asked how he'd been, whether it was true he was marrying Madeline soon. She caught sight of the unzipped bag before he answered. Stacks of cash packed inside, thick and neat. "Logan, where did all this come from?" "Don't get all worked up, you'll embarrass yourself. I'm about to be a billionaire's son-in-law. This is nothing. You always said Connor was smarter than me. Look where all that studying's gotten him. This is money he couldn't earn in a lifetime." He was already sure he had the Ashford family locked down, certain that once the wedding was final, everything they owned would belong to him. Their mother forced a smile, disagreeing silently, but too worn down to say so out loud. When Connor came home from class that evening, Logan dragged him straight into the bedroom. "None of this happens without you, big brother. The wedding's moving faster because of what you did. I need one more thing from you." Connor waited. "I need a way to make sure that family listens to me, really listens, so everything they've got is mine and not just something I'm borrowed into." Connor let a long pause stretch out, waiting until Logan's patience frayed before answering, reluctant, like the words cost him something. "There's one way, but I'd need your help. You'd have to get this flash drive into Ashford's computer. I studied computer science. I can pull everything out of his company records once it's plugged in. Once you're sitting on his secrets, you think his family's going to say no to you about anything?" Logan slapped his knee and grinned. "That's my brother. Give me a day." As Logan headed for the door, Connor called after him. "Get yourself checked out at a clinic sometime soon. You haven't looked right lately." Logan waved it off without turning around, too pleased with himself to hear what Connor was actually telling him.
Logan moved fast, and by that same night, the drive was in Ashford's machine. What Connor pulled from it wasn't trade secrets, it was Madeline's medical file. Buried alongside it was a long paper trail. Every student she'd hurt badly enough to make trouble, quietly bought off by Ashford before it could turn into a real scandal. Settlements paid out to keep every ugly incident from ever seeing daylight. He copied all of it and waited for the wedding.
Logan never told their mother the date. He decided her illness would embarrass him in front of the Ashfords and only invited Connor. Connor arrived at the venue early, the same room where, in another life, his future had been signed away. The circle had closed on itself, and this time it was Logan standing at the center of it, about to bury his own future here instead. He walked in as the groom's brother, and while no one was paying attention, plugged into the laptop running the wedding slideshow. After the vows, after the toast, the screen behind the couple flickered and the wedding photos vanished, replaced by an enlarged page of Madeline's medical records. Gasps rippled through the hall. Someone muttered that a rich man's daughter living like that explained the rumors of her attempted suicide, and someone else wondered aloud whether Logan had already caught whatever she was carrying. Madeline screamed once and collapsed on the spot. Logan stared at the screen like death itself had reached out and touched him. Something in him snapped, and he lunged, hands closing around her throat. "You're going to pay for this." In his last life, Madeline had drugged Connor on their own wedding night, and only afterward had he learned what she carried. The same diagnosis that had driven her to lock herself in that lab and set it to fire, unable to face what it meant. Being the one who saved her had made him Ashford's chosen instrument, meant to walk beside her all the way down. He'd never told his family any of it, afraid of what the worry would do to his mother. He hadn't expected Logan to crawl toward that same fate on his own. Guests scattered, shouting over each other. Ashford clutched his chest and went down, a heart attack seizing him where he stood.
Madeline had barely come back to consciousness when Logan, wild with rage, drove a broken glass into her throat, and she stopped breathing where she lay. Someone called the police, and officers hauled Logan out in cuffs before the ambulance even arrived.
The story wasn't finished. Connor released everything he had on Madeline's history of cruelty, and it tore through the internet within hours, public fury landing squarely on Ashford for years of quietly burying his daughter's victims instead of stopping her. The scandal reached the Department of Education, and inspectors moved into the university Ashford had built and bankrolled. Statement after statement from former students painted a picture of a school that had looked away from years of abuse while running its own web of backroom deals. The school was shut down within weeks. Ashford, already in a hospital bed when the news reached him, never recovered and died a few days later. The family that had once seemed untouchable in this city ended up with nothing left of its name.
Logan was sentenced to death, murder, and complicity in years of cruelty alongside Madeline. Connor visited him once, the day before the execution. Logan threw himself at the glass the moment he saw him, pounding on it like something rabid. Connor didn't smile. He didn't need to. How does it feel losing twice? I suppose I owe you thanks, little brother. You volunteered to carry my disease for me this time around. You went back too? All this time I never even saw it. You spent so much effort trying to steal my life, the least I could do was help you finish the job. Heaven's always watching, Logan. I told you once, sooner or later, everyone pays for what they've done. Looks like your bill finally came due.
Connor, you won't get a peaceful death either. Wait for me. I'll come back again, and I'll make you pay for this. Not a flicker of feeling crossed Connor's face. The screaming faded as the guards led him away, and a white sheet came down over him not long after. He never told their mother the truth. He said Logan had gone abroad with the Ashfords and wasn't coming back for a while. She studied his face a moment too long, the way she always did when something didn't sit right, then let it go and didn't ask again. College passed in a steady blur after that. His mother's treatments held steady on the money he could finally provide without strain, her coughing fits growing rarer with each year. Determined not to waste this life the way he'd wasted parts of the last one, Connor threw himself into his studies and graduated into a position at a major firm, exactly the kind of future he'd once thought was out of reach for someone like him. The day his offer letter came through, he stood outside and looked up at the sky, done, finally, with waiting for a fortune to fall into his lap overnight. Every gift life handed you came with a price attached somewhere down the line, and the only real way through was the slow one. One step, 1 year, one honest choice at a time. Whatever had happened before was behind him now. Ahead of him, for the first time, the road looked clear.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more. We'll see you next time. See ya!